The escape pod fell from the sky like a burning star. It tore through the purple clouds of the alien world and crashed through the tall black trees. Metal screamed against wood. Fire and smoke filled the air. Then everything went quiet. Inside the broken pod, Lieutenant James Park opened his eyes. Pain shot through his body like electricity. His ribs were broken. His head was bleeding. But he was alive. James pushed himself up slowly. Every movement hurt. He looked around the destroyed pod. Sparks flew from broken wires. The emergency lights flickered red. His survival pack lay in the corner, still in one piece. That was good. That pack was now his entire life. He grabbed the pack and crawled out of the pod. The metal door had been torn away during the crash. James fell onto soft purple grass and lay there for a moment, breathing hard. The air tasted strange, but clean. His scanner had told him this planet had oxygen. At least he would not die from breathing. James forced himself to stand. He looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, pieces of his ship were floating in the darkness of space. The USS Persistence was gone, destroyed by enemy warships 3 hours ago. James had watched from his escape pod as the ship broke apart. He had seen other pods launch, but he did not know if any of them survived. He was probably alone. One human on an unknown world at the edge of explored space. The jungle around him was unlike anything on Earth. The trees were hundreds of meters tall. Their bark was black like coal. Their leaves glowed with a soft green light, making the whole forest look like it was underwater. Strange sounds came from somewhere deep in the trees. Clicks and whistles and low growls. James checked his scanner again. The device showed him the air quality, the gravity, the temperature. All of it was acceptable for human survival. But then he noticed something else. A life signature. Something big. Something very close. The signature was weak and slow. Whatever it was not moving much. Injured, maybe. Dying, possibly. Every survival training manual told James the same thing. Stay away from unknown creatures. Find water. Find shelter. Wait for rescue. Do not take stupid risks. James looked at the scanner again. The creature was only 200 meters away. He started walking toward it. The jungle floor was soft and wet. Strange plants reached for James as he passed, but he pushed them away. Small creatures with too many legs ran from his footsteps. The glowing leaves above created moving shadows everywhere. James kept his hand on his pulse pistol, but he did not draw it. He found the creature in a clearing. The clearing looked like a battlefield. Trees had been knocked down. The ground was torn up. Burn marks covered everything. And in the middle of it all lay the most terrifying thing James had ever seen. It was huge. 12 meters long from head to tail. Its body was covered in scales that changed color as James watched, shifting from deep purple to black and back again. It had 6 powerful legs, each one ending in claws that looked sharp enough to cut through metal. Its head was like a dragon from old Earth stories, with a long snout full of teeth and 4 eyes that glowed like dying embers. James knew what this creature was. He had seen pictures in classified military files. This was a Vorn, the most dangerous predator in the known galaxy. The Dominion Empire had sent hundreds of soldiers to capture just one of these creatures. None of those soldiers had ever come back. And now James was standing 10 meters away from one. The Vorn saw him. Its 4 eyes turned toward James, and for a moment, the human felt true fear. This creature could kill him in a heartbeat. It could move faster than his eyes could follow. Its teeth could bite through armor like paper. But the Vorn did not attack. It tried to stand. Its 6 legs pushed against the ground. But then it fell back down with a sound that was almost like a cry. That was when James saw the harpoons. 3 metal spears stuck out of the creature's side. They were Dominion weapons. James recognized the design. The harpoons had poison on them. Even now, the poison was spreading through the Vorn's body. Silver blood leaked from the wounds and pooled on the ground. The creature looked at James again. There was no threat in those 4 eyes now. Only pain, only exhaustion, only the acceptance of death. James should have walked away. He knew this. The Vorn was dying. Nothing he could do would save it. And even if he could save it, why would he? This creature was a killer. A monster. It would probably eat him the moment it felt strong enough. But James did not walk away. He looked at the Vorn, and he saw something he recognized. He saw a living being that was alone and afraid and in pain. He saw something that had been hunted and hurt and left to die. He saw himself. James took off his survival pack and set it on the ground. The Vorn watched him with careful eyes. Its body tensed, ready for an attack that did not come. "Easy," James said softly. His voice sounded strange in the alien jungle. "Easy there? I am not going to hurt you." The Vorn made a low rumbling sound. A warning, maybe. Or maybe something else. James knelt down slowly. He opened his pack and pulled out his medical kit. He did not know if human medicine would work on an alien creature. He did not know if the Vorn would let him get close enough to try. He did not know anything, really. But he was going to try anyway. "I know you do not understand me," James said, keeping his voice calm and quiet. "But I am going to help you. Or I am going to die trying. Those are the only 2 options I can see right now." The Vorn's eyes followed his every movement. Its claws dug into the ground. Its breathing was heavy and wet. James took a deep breath and stepped closer. The creature did not attack. James knelt beside the Vorn and looked at the harpoons in its side. The wounds were bad. The poison was spreading. But there was still life in those 4 strange eyes. There was still fight. "Okay," James whispered, more to himself than to the creature. "Let us see what we can do." The sun was setting over the alien jungle. Purple light mixed with green shadows. And in a clearing full of destruction, a human began trying to save the most dangerous creature in the galaxy. Neither of them knew it yet, but this moment would change everything. The first 3 days were the hardest days of James Park's life. He worked without rest. He pulled the harpoons from the Vorn's body one by one. Each time, the creature screamed in pain. The sound was terrible. It shook the trees and sent birds flying into the sky. But the Vorn did not attack James. It just lay there, breathing hard, watching him with those 4 glowing eyes. The poison was the real problem. James could see it spreading under the creature's scales. Silver lines moved through its body like rivers on a map. The Vorn was getting weaker every hour. James searched the jungle for anything that might help. He scanned every plant with his device. Most of them were useless. Some of them were poisonous. But on the second day, he found something. A small blue flower that grew near a stream. His scanner said it had properties similar to earth medicines that fought poison. He did not know if it would work. He did not know the right amount to use. He did not know anything about Vorn biology. But he had no other choice. James crushed the flowers into a paste. He mixed it with water from the stream. He filled his medical injector with the blue liquid and walked back to the clearing. The Vorn watched him approach. It was too weak to lift its head now. Its breathing was slow and shallow. Those 4 eyes had lost most of their light. "This might kill you," James said honestly. "But you are already dying. So we might as well try." He pressed the injector against the Vorn's neck and pushed the medicine into its blood. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the creature started shaking. Its whole body trembled like it was having a seizure. James stepped back, afraid he had made a terrible mistake. But then the shaking stopped. The Vorn let out a long breath, and the silver lines of poison under its skin began to fade. "It worked," James whispered. "It actually worked." He laughed. He could not help it. He sat down on the purple grass and laughed until tears ran down his face. He was exhausted. He was starving. He was probably going to die on this planet. But for this one moment, he had won. The Vorn lived through the night. By the fourth day, the creature was stable but very weak. The poison was gone, but it had done damage. The Vorn needed time to heal. And it needed something else too. Food. James realized the problem on the morning of the fourth day. The Vorn had not eaten in who knows how long. The Dominion hunters who wounded it had probably chased it for days before finally catching it. The creature was starving. James looked at his own supplies. He had emergency rations for about 2 weeks. Small bars of compressed nutrition. Not tasty, but they would keep him alive. He took one of the bars and placed it in front of the Vorn's mouth. The creature sniffed at it. Then it turned its head away. "Right," James said. "You are a predator. You eat meat. Real meat." He looked at the jungle around him. Somewhere in those dark trees, there were animals. He had heard them at night. Growls and screams and the sounds of hunting. James checked his pulse rifle. He had maybe 20 shots left before the battery died. After that, he would have only his pistol and his knife. "Stay here," he told the Vorn. "I will find you something to eat." The creature's 4 eyes followed him as he walked into the jungle. Hunting on an alien world was not easy. James did not know what animals were safe to eat. He did not know their habits or their patterns. He walked through the glowing forest for hours, following sounds, looking for tracks. He found his prey near sunset. It looked like a wild pig from Earth, but with 6 legs and thick gray fur. The creature was drinking from a small pond. It had not noticed James yet. James raised his rifle. His hands were steady. He had trained for this, even if he had never thought he would use his training to feed an alien monster. He fired. The animal fell, dragging the body back to the clearing. Took all of James's remaining strength. The creature was heavy. His ribs screamed with every step. By the time he reached the Vorn, he could barely stand, but he did not rest. He pulled out his knife and began to cut the animal into pieces. The work was messy and bloody. James had never butchered anything before. He made many mistakes. But eventually, he had a pile of raw meat in front of him. He carried the meat to the Vorn and placed it before those massive jaws. The creature looked at the food. Then, it looked at James. Those 4 eyes studied him for a long moment. James could not read the expression. He did not know what the Vorn was thinking. Then the creature lowered its head and began to eat. It ate slowly, carefully, like it was tasting every bite. And the whole time, its eyes never left James. "Good," James said softly. "That is good. You need to eat. You need to get strong." He sat down a few meters away and watched the Vorn finish its meal. When it was done, the creature made a sound. A low rumble deep in its chest. Almost like a cat purring, but deeper. More powerful. James smiled. "You are welcome." He hunted again the next day, and the day after that. His rifle battery died on the 7th day, but he had learned by then. He had found trails that the animals used. He had set traps with rope from his survival pack. He caught smaller creatures now, but he caught enough. His own food ran out on the 10th day. James ate what he could find. Fruits that his scanner said were safe. Roots that tasted like dirt. He gave all the meat to the Vorn. He grew thin. His uniform hung loose on his body. His face became sharp and tired, but the Vorn grew stronger. On the 12th day, James returned to the clearing with his catch. He was so tired he could barely walk. His vision was blurry. His hand shook. He dropped the meat in front of the Vorn and fell to his knees. "There," he whispered. "Eat." The creature looked at him. Then it did something unexpected. It pushed the meat back toward James. James stared at the offering. The Vorn made that rumbling sound again, louder this time. It pushed the meat closer. "No," James said. "That is for you. You need it more than—" The Vorn growled. Not angry, insistent. It pushed the meat until it touched James's knees. James understood then. The creature was telling him to eat. It had noticed that he was starving himself. And it cared. Tears filled James's eyes. He did not try to stop them. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay, we will share." He cut the meat in half. He gave one half to the Vorn. The other half he cooked over a small fire and ate himself. It was the best meal of his life. That night, for the first time, the Vorn let James sleep against its side. The creature's body was warm. Its scales were surprisingly soft. Its heartbeat was slow and steady. James closed his eyes and slept without fear. They were no longer two survivors. They were something more now. They were partners. 3 weeks passed on the alien world. The jungle became home. The strange became normal. And the bond between James Park and the creature he called Ghost grew stronger every day. James had given the Vorn that name because of how its scales worked. In certain light, the creature seemed to disappear. Its purple and black colors blended perfectly with the shadows of the jungle. One moment it would be standing beside James. The next moment it would be gone. Like a ghost fading into darkness. Ghost was almost fully healed now. The wounds had closed. The weakness had passed. The Vorn could run again, could hunt again, could kill again. James had seen it catch animals faster than his eyes could follow. He had seen it crush rocks with its jaws just for fun. The power in that body was terrifying. But Ghost never used that power against James. Instead, the creature followed him everywhere. It slept beside him at night. It brought him gifts of food. It made that rumbling sound whenever James spoke to it, like it was trying to answer. James did not know if Ghost truly understood his words. The Vorn was clearly intelligent. Its eyes showed thinking, planning, feeling. But whether it understood human language was another question. Still, James talked to it anyway. He told Ghost about Earth, about the blue oceans and green forests and cities full of lights. He told the creature about his family, his mother and father and little sister. He told it about his dream of exploring the stars. Ghost listened to everything. Those 4 eyes never looked away when James spoke. "I wonder what your home is like," James said one evening. They were sitting by a stream, watching the purple sunset. "I wonder if you have family too." Ghost made a sound, softer than usual. Almost sad. James reached out and put his hand on the Vorn's side. The scales were warm under his fingers. "I am sorry," he said. "Whatever happened to you before, I am sorry." The creature leaned into his touch. That night, they slept closer than ever before. James curled up against Ghost's chest, listening to that powerful heartbeat. He felt safe in a way he had not felt since he was a child. The peace did not last. The Dominion hunters came at dawn. James woke to the sound of engines. Not natural sounds. Not animal sounds. Machine sounds. He opened his eyes and saw lights moving through the jungle. "Ghost," he whispered urgently. "We need to move. Now." The Vorn was already awake. Its scales had shifted to pure black. Its 4 eyes were bright with alertness. A low growl came from its throat. They ran. Ghost led the way through the jungle. The Vorn knew this world better than James now. It had explored every trail, every cave, every hiding spot. James ran behind it, struggling to keep up. His heart pounding in his chest. The sounds of the hunters grew louder. James heard voices. Harsh alien words that his translator could not fully process. But he caught enough. They were searching for the wounded Vorn. The Dominion wanted Ghost. They wanted to capture it, break it, turn it into a weapon. James ran faster. Ghost led him to a cave deep in the mountains. The entrance was hidden behind a waterfall. James had never seen this place before, but Ghost moved with certainty. This was a safe place. A secret place. They pressed themselves against the cave wall and waited. The hunters searched for hours. James heard their vehicles flying overhead. He heard their feet walking nearby. He heard their angry voices as they failed to find their target. "Stay quiet," James whispered to Ghost. He kept his hand on the Vorn side, feeling the creature's muscles tense with the desire to fight. "They will leave. They have to leave." Ghost made no sound, but its eyes burned with something dangerous. The Dominion hunters finally moved on. Their sounds faded into the distance. But James knew they would be back. They would keep searching until they found what they wanted. "We cannot hide forever," James said quietly. "They will not give up." Ghost looked at him. Those 4 eyes showed understanding. The Vorn knew the truth as well as James did. They stayed in the cave for 2 more days, only leaving to find food and water. James tried to form a plan. His distress beacon was still sending signals. If any human ships were in range, they might come. But the signal was weak, and space was very big. On the 3rd day, the hunters found them. James was gathering water from the stream when he heard the shot. A bolt of energy flew past his head and exploded against a tree. He dropped his container and ran. "Ghost!" he screamed. "Run!" But when he reached the cave, he found something different. Ghost was not running. Ghost was standing at the entrance, scales shifting between colors, claws digging into the stone. The Vorn was done hiding. 8 Dominion soldiers came through the trees. They wore armor that looked like insect shells, black and shiny and hard. They carried weapons that hummed with deadly energy. Behind them walked the handler with a cage on a floating platform. The cage was big enough to hold Ghost. "There it is," the handler said, his voice full of greed. "The wounded Vorn. Capture it alive. The Empress will pay well for this one." James pulled out his pistol. It was a small weapon, almost useless against that armor. But he held it anyway. "Stay back," he shouted. "I am warning you." The soldiers laughed. The handler made a clicking sound that might have been amusement. "A human?" "Here." The handler stepped forward. "Interesting. Kill him. He's not worth anything." 3 soldiers raised their weapons toward James. Ghost moved. The Vorn was a blur of purple and black. It hit the first soldier like a missile, claws tearing through that hard armor like it was paper. The soldier screamed once, then went silent. Ghost did not stop. It spun and struck the second soldier, then the third. Blood sprayed through the air. Bodies fell. The other soldiers tried to fight back. They fired their weapons at Ghost, but the Vorn was too fast. It dodged between the energy bolts like they were moving in slow motion. Every strike killed another enemy. Every movement was perfect. James watched with wide eyes. He had known Ghost was powerful. He had not known this. The creature was death itself, given form and fury. The handler tried to run. Ghost caught him in 2 steps. The Vorn's jaws closed, and the handler stopped existing. 1 soldier remained. The last one. He dropped his weapon and fell to his knees, begging in his alien language. Ghost stood over him, teeth bared, ready to kill. "Ghost?" James's voice was quiet but firm. "Let him go." The Vorn turned to look at James. Those 4 eyes asked a question. "Let him go," James repeated. "Let him run back to his masters. Let him tell them what happened here." Ghost considered this for a long moment. Then the creature stepped back. The soldier ran. He disappeared into the jungle, moving faster than James had thought possible. Ghost returned to James's side. The worm's scales were covered in blood. Its breathing was heavy. But those 4 eyes looked at James with something like pride. "That was incredible," James whispered. "You are incredible." Ghost lowered its massive head until one eye was level with James's face. The eye swirled with colors that James still could not name. Then the worm pressed its snout against James's chest. That rumbling sound came again, louder than ever before. James put both hands on Ghost's head. He understood now. He finally understood. This was not just partnership. This was not just survival. This was family. "I am yours," James said softly. "And you are mine, forever." Ghost rumbled again. In the blood and silence of the jungle, a bond was made complete. The distress beacon had been sending its signal for 47 days. When the human ship finally came, James saw the lights first. Bright white lights cutting through the purple night sky. Not Dominion lights. Not the harsh red glow of enemy ships. These were human lights. These were rescue lights. He stood up from where he had been sitting beside Ghost. His heart was pounding. His eyes were filling with tears. After all this time, after everything that had happened, someone had finally come. "Ghost," he whispered. Look at the sky." The worm raised its massive head and watched the lights descend. Its 4 eyes tracked the movement carefully. A low growl came from its throat. "No," James said quickly. "Those are friends. My people. They came to find me." Ghost looked at him. The creature did not seem convinced. The ship landed in a clearing about half a kilometer away. James could see its shape through the trees. A military rescue vessel. Small but fast. Built for dangerous missions in dangerous places. He started walking toward it. Ghost followed. They reached the edge of the clearing just as the ship's door opened. Soldiers came out first, their weapons ready, their eyes scanning the jungle. Behind them walked a tall man in a captain's uniform. James recognized him immediately. Captain David Kim. They had served together years ago, before James had been assigned to the Persistence. David was a good man. A careful man. He did not leave his people behind. "Park!" David's voice echoed across the clearing. His eyes went wide when he saw James step out of the trees. "My God, you are alive." James smiled. It felt strange on his face. He had not smiled much in the past few weeks. "I am alive, Captain. Barely." David started walking toward him. Then he stopped. His hand went to his weapon. His soldiers raised their rifles. James knew. What they had seen. Ghost had stepped out of the jungle behind him. The worm was not hiding. Its scales were bright purple in the ship's lights. Its 4 eyes glowed like small suns. It stood at its full height, 12 meters of muscle and claws and teeth. "Park, get away from that thing," David shouted. "Move slowly. Do not make any sudden. No." James did not move. Instead, he stepped backward, putting himself between the soldiers and Ghost. "Lower your weapons, Captain. The Vorn is with me. With you?" David stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Park, that creature is a Class A predator. It has killed thousands. The Dominion uses them as living weapons. Her name is Ghost," James said calmly. "And she saved my life. Many times." The soldiers kept their rifles raised. James could see their fingers on the triggers. One wrong move, and they would start shooting. Ghost made a sound. That low rumble that James knew so well. But this time, there was something else in it. A question. The worm was asking if these humans were enemies. James turned his head slightly, keeping his eyes on the soldiers. "They are not a threat to me," he said to Ghost. "They are scared. They do not understand. But they will not hurt us." He looked back at David. Captain, please. I know how this looks, but I am asking you to trust me. Ghost is not our enemy. She is our ally. David did not lower his weapon. You have been alone on this planet for almost 2 months, Park. Alone with that creature. How do I know it has not done something to your mind? How do I know you are still thinking clearly? Because I am standing here telling you the truth. James kept his voice steady. The Dominion wounded Ghost, left her to die. I found her. I healed her. I fed her when she was starving. And in return, she has protected me from every danger on this planet. He paused, letting his words sink in. The Dominion sent hunters, James continued. 3 separate times. Over 100 soldiers total. Ghost killed them all. She could have left me. She could have run into the jungle and disappeared. But she stayed. She chose to stay. David was quiet for a long moment. His soldiers waited for his command. The Vorn are not mindless beasts, James said. They are intelligent. They feel loyalty. They form bonds. The Dominion has been hunting them for centuries because they know how powerful the Vorn can be. But they have been trying to break them, to force them into service. He placed his hand on Ghost's side. The Vorn leaned into his touch. I did something different, James said. I showed her kindness, and she gave me her trust. David slowly lowered his weapon. He gestured for his soldiers to do the same. The tension in the clearing dropped slightly, but not completely. Command is going to lose their minds, David said. You know that, right? You cannot just bring a Vorn back to human space. There are laws, protocols. Then the laws and protocols will have to change. James straightened his shoulders. He was thin and tired and dirty, but his eyes were clear. Ghost comes with me, or I stay here. Those are the only options. You would stay on this planet? Alone? I am not alone. James looked at Ghost. The Vorn looked back at him, and those 4 eyes showed something that might have been love. I will never be alone again. David stared at the scene before him. A human and a monster. A soldier and a predator. A bond that should not exist, but clearly did. He thought about all the reports. He had read about the Vorn, all the horror stories, all the failed capture missions. And here was James Park, scratching behind the creature's ear like it was a pet dog. You really trust that thing? David asked. With my life, James answered without hesitation. With everything. Ghost made that rumbling sound again. This time, it was clearly happy. David sighed. He ran a hand through his hair. He looked at his soldiers, then at the jungle, then at the impossible pair before him. Fine, he said finally. Fine. Get on the ship. Both of you. We will figure out the details later. James felt relief wash over him. Thank you, Captain. Do not thank me yet. You have no idea how much paperwork this is going to create. David turned toward the ship, then stopped. Park, one question. Yes? How did you know? On that first day, when you found it wounded. How did you know it would not just kill you? James thought about the question. He remembered crawling out of his escape pod. He remembered the pain and the fear and the loneliness. He remembered finding Ghost in that destroyed clearing, bleeding and dying and alone. I did not know, he admitted. But I knew what it felt like to be hurt and scared and left behind. I knew what I would have wanted someone to do for me. He smiled at Ghost. Turns out, that is universal. David nodded slowly. He did not fully understand, but he was beginning to. Get on the ship, he repeated. And try to keep your friend calm. My soldiers are still nervous. James laughed. It was a real laugh, full of relief and joy. Come on, Ghost, he said. Let us go home. The Vorn followed him onto the human ship, ducking its massive head to fit through the door. The soldiers pressed themselves against the walls to make room. their eyes wide with fear, but Ghost ignored them. Ghost only had eyes for James Dodd as the ship rose into the purple sky, leaving the alien jungle behind. James sat beside his Vorn and watched the planet shrink below them. "I told you they would come," he said softly. "I told you we would be okay." Ghost rested its head on his lap. They were going home. The Galactic Council had stood for 3,000 years. In that time, it had seen empires rise and fall. It had witnessed wars that killed billions. It had watched new species join the stars and old species fade into history. But it had never seen anything like what stood before it today. The council chamber was enormous. It was built to hold representatives from over 200 species. Every seat was filled. Every eye was focused on the central platform. Ambassador Emily Song stood at the podium. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 40 years speaking for humanity in this chamber. She had faced threats and insults and challenges from every corner of the galaxy. But she had never been more proud than she was right now. Behind her, displayed on screens 100 meters tall, was the image that had shocked the galaxy. Lieutenant James Park, now promoted to colonel, sat beside a fully grown Vorn. The creature's scales gleamed purple and black. Its four eyes glowed with intelligence, and its massive head rested against James's shoulder like a loyal dog. "For centuries," Emily began, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber, "the Vorn have been feared, hunted, enslaved. Every species in this council has tried to capture them. Every species has failed." She paused, letting the silence stretch. "You used weapons," she continued. "You used traps. You used poison and pain and cruelty. You tried to break them, to turn them into tools." Emily smiled. It was not a kind smile. Humans tried something different. The screens shifted to show footage. James Park finding the wounded Vorn in the jungle. James Park pulling harpoons from its flesh. James Park dragging food through the forest, starving himself so the creature could eat. "Kindness," Emily said. "That is the human weapon. Compassion, empathy, the understanding that even the most dangerous creature in the galaxy might respond to gentleness." Murmurs ran through the council. Some species looked skeptical. Some looked confused. Some looked afraid. The Dominion representative rose from its seat. It was a tall creature, covered in hard black armor, with a face full of clicking mouthparts. "This is absurd," the Dominion representative said. "The Vorn are beasts. They are property. This human has stolen what rightfully belongs to the Empire." Emily turned to face the Dominion section. Her eyes were cold. "The Dominion wounded that Vorn," she said. "Left it to die. You treated it like an object, and it nearly cost its life." She gestured to the screens. "Colonel Park treated it like a living being. And in return, the Vorn chose to stand with him, to protect him, to fight for him." The footage changed again. Combat recordings from the planet. Ghosts tearing through Dominion soldiers like they were made of paper. 50 soldiers. 2 minutes. None survived. The council chamber went silent. "The Vorn are not beasts," Emily continued. "They are intelligent. They feel emotions. They form bonds. And they have very long memories." She looked directly at the Dominion representative. "They remember who hurt them. And they remember who helped them." The Dominion representative made an angry clicking sound. "Are you threatening the Empire, Ambassador?" "I am stating facts." Emily's voice was calm but hard. "The Vorn have chosen humanity as their allies. Not because we forced them. Not because we broke them. Because we treated them with respect." She turned back to face the full council. "In the past 6 months, 12 more Vorn have bonded with human companions. Each bond was formed the same way, through patience, through care, through kindness. We do not cage them. We do not control them. We earn their trust. The screens showed more images now. Different humans with different Vorn. A woman with a Vorn that had silver scales. A man with a Vorn that was smaller but faster than Ghost. A pair of brothers who had bonded with two Vorn at the same time. These creatures are joining us of their own free will, Emily said. And they are teaching us things we never knew. The Vorn have their own language, their own culture, their own history that stretches back millions of years. She paused for effect. They are also teaching us how to fight. The footage shifted one more time. A battle in space. Human ships fighting against a Dominion fleet. And riding on the outside of those ships, protected by special suits, were Vorn. The creatures leaped from ship to ship, tearing through holes with their claws, killing enemy soldiers before they could even raise their weapons. The battle lasted 4 minutes. The Dominion fleet was destroyed. The Vorn are the most powerful predators in the galaxy, Emily said. And they have chosen to stand with humanity. I suggest the rest of you consider what that means. She stepped back from the podium. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then the representative from the Kalari Federation stood. They were small beings, covered in blue feathers, known throughout the galaxy for their wisdom. Ambassador Song, the Kalari said carefully, humanity has accomplished something remarkable. But I must ask, what do you want from us? What is the purpose of this demonstration? Emily smiled. This time, it was a warmer expression. We want peace, she said. True peace. The Vorn have been victims for too long. Hunted and killed and enslaved. That ends now. She looked around the chamber. Any species that continues to hunt the Vorn will answer to humanity. And to our allies. On the screens, Ghost raised its head and roared. The sound echoed through the council chamber, making even the largest representatives flinch. But any species that treats the Vorn with respect, Emily continued, will find us willing partners. We can share what we have learned. We can help you form your own bonds. The galaxy does not have to be built on fear and domination. She folded her hands in front of her. It can be built on something better. The council chamber erupted in the conversation. Species that had been enemies for centuries were suddenly talking to each other. Representatives were asking questions, making offers, seeking understanding. Emily stepped away from the podium and walked to a private viewing room at the edge of the chamber. The door opened, and she found James waiting inside. Ghost lay beside him, taking up most of the floor space. You did well, James said. He looked different now, healthy, strong. His uniform was clean and pressed. But his eyes still held that gentleness that Ghost had first seen in the jungle. You did the hard part, Emily replied. I just explained it to people who did not want to listen. Ghost made that rumbling sound. Emily had learned what it meant now. It was a sound of happiness, of family. The Dominion will not give up easily, James said. They lost too much today. They will want revenge. Let them try. Emily sat down in a chair across from him. We have the Vorn now. And more importantly, we have something the Dominion will never understand. What is that? Emily looked at Ghost. The massive creature was watching her with those 4 strange eyes. Intelligent, curious, loyal. The knowledge that the greatest strength in the universe is not power, Emily said. It is love. James put his hand on Ghost's head. The Vorn pressed against his touch. 5 years later, the first Vorn embassy opened on Earth. James stood at the ceremony with Ghost by his side. 12 Vorn and their human companions were present. Each bond was unique. Each bond was powerful. And each bond had been formed the same way, through kindness. A reporter approached James after the ceremony. She was young and nervous, clearly afraid to stand so close to the massive alien creature. "Colonel Park," she said, "can you tell us what started all of this? How did you know, on that first day in the jungle, that showing kindness would work?" James looked at Ghost. The Vorn looked back at him. In those 4 eyes, he saw everything they had been through together. The pain and the fear, and the hope and the love. "I did not know," James admitted. "But I knew what it felt like to be alone, to be wounded, to be afraid. And I knew what I would have wanted someone to do for me." He smiled. "Turns out, that is something every living being understands." Ghost rumbled in agreement. The reporter looked at them both. The human and the alien. The soldier and the predator. Partners. Family. "Do you have any advice for other humans who want to bond with a Vorn?" James thought about the question for a moment. "Be patient," he said finally. "Be kind. Be willing to give more than you take. And remember that every creature in the galaxy, no matter how different it looks, just wants to be loved and understood." He patted Ghost's side. "Even the most dangerous ones. Especially the most dangerous ones." Ghost seemed to say with her eyes, and somewhere across the galaxy, in the ruins of their failed empire, the Dominion learned a lesson they would never forget. Humanity did not conquer through strength. Humanity conquered through compassion, and that made them the most dangerous species of all.